Okay. All right. We're recording. Hi,
Hello,
Vinny.
Accent.
Welcome to my
This
talk
is
show.
this is so funny
I want to
because this
welcome the
is my first
blue-eyed boy.
now promoting the album. Yeah, this is my first time on a podcast. This is my first time on a talk show that's not imaginary. So I am very
Not
excited
imaginary.
right now. But it's been a little journey to get here in this past now I'm 20 minutes late, which is pretty on brand for me, I feel like. I feel like there's never a time where I haven't been late to something in my life.
A cat just jumped out of the window. Sorry. Okay, we're good.
That's
Sorry.
good old Presley.
That
Yeah, I feel
that
like
you're
there's
not
never.
late.
I feel like, yeah, you know me, and you know that there is never a time that I'm not late to something. So it's pretty on brand for me to be late to this. Um,
Yeah, exactly. Make
yes,
your
I
fashionably late entrance. You would never
exactly.
have it
Well,
any other way.
what does Julie Andrews say in that movie? A queen is never late. Else is simply early. That applies to me
Exactly.
right
A
now.
little Princess Diaries there for you.
Exactly. Um, no, my journey to this podcast right now was my dog kind of sits there and she looks at me all day waiting and longing to be outside. And
Oh,
I just waited so long to take her today. But then I was like, oh, I've got to be back in an hour. So I'll take her to the dog park around the corner. And I realized that the way that we get in and out of my house is through our garage, like our garage door, because we
mm.
drive in into the garage and that's how we get in through the house. Um, because basically our front door is out of use. Our front door,
Oh,
well, I think maybe a few days after I arrived home this year in April, we had somebody come over. It was my friend Courtney. She came over to visit, and the door was locked. And so I was just like, I'd unlocked the door, and I was just like, Mum, the door's locked. Like, I can't open the door. And so my mum was like, What do you mean you can't open the door? It's just unlock the door and open it. And so I'm just like, I can't. The door won't open. So she goes over, she sticks the key in the door, and she's like, You just sometimes have to give it a little bit of a yank. And she pulled the door handle off of our
like the
door,
whole.
the whole door handle
Oh,
off. So it's like we have no way to
oh
open
no.
the door from inside the house. Um, and so we've kind of just been living like that. I keep telling my mum to fix it, and she's just like, "Yeah, I'll get around to it." But obviously, it's one of those things that never comes into our minds because we never use the front door to get in and out of the house. We always use the garage door.
That sounds
Um,
like my mom and I. Like, it's so janky. I feel like
it's just
that's what
like
we
we're
have
like,
in common. Like, our household is just janky. We're just like, oh, we'll
we're
fix
just
it when we need to.
yeah,
And
we'll
never
come
do.
around to it at some point. And so we've been luckily like we have in on our front door we have our main door and then we have like a fly wide or like a metal gate door so you can't like
Mm.
luckily we don't have to everywhere. I mean you can't open it from the outside anyway unless you unlock it. But like luckily that's not something we've had to worry about. And so I'm going to take the dog for a walk and I call my mom and I'm like, you didn't leave me the garage like door to open like the fob to open it because it's an electric door. And she's like, oh, it's fine. Just use, she's like, there's a button inside the garage. Use that to open it and then close it as you leave. And then take the front door keys. She's like, you can still open the front door from the outside. You just can't open it from the inside. And I was like, oh, okay. She's like, just don't forget the keys. So I go take my dog for this really lovely walk. We go to the dog park. We have a good time. We're just like this. I'm training her for the dog Olympics. Like, we've got everything going. And then I was like, right, I'm going to set back off. I'm going to be early. I'm going to be ready to film this podcast and this little talk show moment. I get back to my door and I unlock the door and I'm like, the door's not opening. So I call my mom. I'm just like, are you sure that like you can open it from this side? She's like, yes, son. I've had to use it twice to open it. And I'm just like, well, it's not opening for me. So I'm like bashing into this door. I'm like, if I bash any harder, this door feels like it's gonna snap in half. Like I'm just like, I'm not messing with this door right now. So then my mom's just like, well, you're gonna have to find a way into the house. I'm like, I'm supposed to be recording a podcast right now with my friend, and I was like, I'm late because I can't get in the house. So I'm having to tie my dog up to our front door, climb over the fence, walk around the house, and I'm having to try the keys in every single door. Luckily, I walk all the way around and get to the back entrance of the garage, which we have like the door that leads to our garden. Managed to get in somehow, and then I have to unlock. I unlock the garage from the button that's inside of it, And who's just sat there waiting for me is my dog, who has somehow managed to unwrangle herself, untie herself from where I had her tied up to the front door. And she's just sat there waiting, and she's like, "You took your time." And I'm just like, how on earth did you untangle
Oh
yourself
my
from that?
god.
And how
So
lucky
you
I am
just
that she
broke
didn't
into
run
your own
away.
house.
So I had to break into my house, and on the meanwhile, I'm shouting at my mum, being like, "You shouldn't have snapped the handle off." And she's like, "I didn't mean to snap the handle off." And I'm like, "Well, you should have had it fixed. You've had months to fix this now." And she's just like, "Don't shout at me." And then she can't stop laughing because I'm grunting as I'm trying to like climb over the fence. And she's like, "All I can picture is your long, gangly legs just flying around over this fence in the back garden." And that's exactly what's happening. So that was making me angrier. And I'm just like, I don't have any upper body strength. So I'm just trying to push myself over. Anyways, I'm here. I'm ready to go. I then had to download the app to be able to record this because I was just like, in my head, I was just like, yeah, she's going to send me a link. And then it was like, you need the app to open this link. And I was like, ooh, okay. But we made it. We're here. I hope you enjoyed my
Okay.
story of how I got here today.
That was it. That's it. Perfect. This is what this podcast is about, Vinny. You know, we're just here spilling the broth.
We're
You know, I
spilling the
like it
broth,
a
and
little,
now
every little
a little hot.
flavor possible.
God, you gotta add those chili flakes. Those janky
Yeah.
chili flakes.
Those janky chili flakes. Okay, we like a little bit of jank. At least I
Like,
know I like a little jank.
and now I'm just like looking at you, and you're so beautiful with your makeup, and I've just got this harsh like cop light on me as if I'm being interrogated. It's like because it's getting dark here. It's 5:30 p.m. here in Melbourne,
Right.
Australia.
Because you're in
Um,
Australia.
yes, and so it's a little
Yeah.
bit light outside. This room doesn't get much light because it's like our office room.
Hmm. Well,
So
no,
we
you
just
look
we got
fine. It's fine.
um,
This podcast is a bit janky. Like I've got the interviews, you know, on I call this series. It's a mini series. It's the talk show interviews over FaceTime or whatever this app is, you know. I just chose whatever one was like free and available to use at ease. But like, I don't know. I just want to chat. I don't know. Like catch up, chat, talk about some fun things. So we're gonna do
talk
that,
about
okay?
we're gonna talk about
I've got
life.
my matcha in my hot mess cup. This is a funny story because when I bought this cup, I was just like, oh, I bought it because it had a cute little fawn. I am addicted to little fawns. And then when I came home, I
Yes, you
realized
are.
it said hot mess. And I was like, you know, actually, that's quite fitting.
Oh my
That's a nice
goodness,
pet.
that
And
is
that
so funny
is
because
cute, isn't it?
you wasn't your Instagram picture a fawn for a while. Did I make that up?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, no, I
I
remember
was
that.
addicted to fawns. I still am. I have so many. Like, Vinny, I have a storage unit here in Paris, a storage unit. And I have, like, all of my decor in there from Resi. Because, like, honestly, wait, I'll start with this story. Because I was thinking, like, what are we going to chat about? And sorry if Presley is jumping in and out of the screen. He's, like, really crazy right now. Um, I was like, what's like the fondest memory I have with Vinny? Because our friendship was so chaotic, and I feel like at the beginning, this is where we like really clicked. Because in Chessy Resi, this was like our apartment complex that we lived in Paris, and well, outside of Paris. And it was so funny because we were like in the basement by the laundry machines, just like
Yes. Oh
dancing.
my gosh.
You remember
Yes.
that? Just
What were we
dancing, but we weren't
doing?
just like, oh, dancing. No, we were like full on like choreo in
Yeah, I
the
can't even remember
laundry.
what I was teaching you my tap choreo that I learned when I was no.
Yeah, I
That
think
was that was
so.
the, was that the second time?
Because we've done it multiple times down there without
We've
we
been
use
there
that
multiple
room as
times.
like
I
our
might be
little
confusing the times, but do you remember how we met? That's my
because we
favorite
were
story of how we met.
because it was through like you knew the twins though, right?
Yeah, so
Before
I
me.
remember I was really close with Haley and Taylor. Well, not really
Hmm.
close. We were just like, I just remember being so drawn to them. I just was like, they're so cool. They're twins. They do this thing. And we kind of were always like passing each other in work, just being like, oh, hi, hi. And then we hung out a few times. And then we went into the second lockdown in Paris. And they were saying that they were going to head back to America. And I was so like devastated. I was just like, oh, wait, everybody's leaving. I was just like, I don't have anybody here. and they were like, "Oh, well, you know that Kira's staying," and I was just like, "Yeah." I was like, "That's really nice." I was like, "I've never really spoken to her before. Like, I know who she is, but I've never spoken
Yeah.
to her." And I was like, "I actually think she lives like a few doors down from me." I was like, "I live at 220 something," and I was like, "But you lived behind the creaky janky door that separated the
Apartment
hallway.
216, baby.
You were just I was here." The janky door that made all that creaky noise was there, and you were on the opposite side, on that side. So I was two something, and
Yeah.
I remember, I think I was 224, and you were, I just remember being like, well, I know she lives a few doors down from me. I was like, well, actually, that kind of makes it perfect because if we go into a lockdown, then I don't actually have to leave the building to go and see her. She's just down the door. So I remember I shot you a DM and I was just like, hi, the twins told me you were staying. If you ever want to hang out, that's great. And you were just like, yeah, sure, let's hang out one night. And we'd organized a movie night in
Oh wait,
my
yes, I
apartment.
remember that.
So the first time that we met was at my door in Resi Chessy in our apartment building, like our apartment complex. We
Yeah.
met at my front door where I was just like, hi. That was the first time we'd spoken. I was like, hi, I'm Dylan. And he was like,
Yeah,
thank
we were
you.
just like, hi. We
And
had
I was just
lived
like, come into my
literally
apartment.
so close, and we're like, hi. Nice to meet you. For the
And
first
our
time ever.
apartment were tiny little boxes that we both had to sit on my bed because we was like, we don't have any like anywhere else to sit apart from my bed or those like tiny little chairs at that half
Yeah.
table because I didn't even have mine at the full size. Mine was at like the half size. And so we
Oh
just
yes,
like
that's right.
I don't remember what movie we watched, but because we
Did we
watched
like
so many
play
movies in
Mario
that
Kart or
room.
something too? And then like, cause
Yes,
I had brought, I remember I brought you like one of those little Japanese sodas.
you did. And every time I saw them whilst I lived in Japan, I always was like, that is the soda that started mine and Kira's friendship. Because I remember you showed me you have to like pop the top like it's like a little glass ball, and you have to
Wait,
pop the
I
top.
have one here. I love them.
They're so funny because I actually have a little side story. So funny. I went on my last few days of living in Japan. I went to this food market with this girl we both used to work with. I don't know if you remember her, Talia. We went to this food market, and those Japanese sodas are really good. I was like, I actually have a funny story about those. Like, this is how my friendship began with Kira, and so she bought one. And this guy popped it. Do you know how they have the little caps to pop them? He popped it with
Yeah.
his finger, so he shoved his finger in a glass bottle, and it was just like it was like this outdoor food market. He was like he's just like sticking his finger. He's obviously like taking all this cash from people, handling all these products, and he just shoves his
Oh,
finger in this
that's
glass
so
bottle.
foul.
And I remember being like, okay,
Just
that's not
that,
how.
just that movement.
It's like that's not how we used to open them. I was like, I swear we used to cap.
That's not how it's done.
Like you need to cap. That's not
That's so
me
cute.
telling the Japanese guy how to open the soda. I'm just like, that's not how it's done. So you need the plastic cap.
They're like really, they're actually really hard to open. Like, how do you do that with your finger?
But
Because I'm like, I smack it.
yeah, you have to like
And it
smack it
adds
out,
effect too.
and the little bowl just like
That's
jingles
so
around in
funny.
the little catch. Yeah, I remember.
I love that. That's such a nice story. That's so cool, actually, because then it like links you to where you went, with your contract. So,
Yes,
yeah,
how
for
crazy.
anyone who didn't know, Vinny lived in Japan for over 2 years, right? Two seasons.
Almost, yeah, 2 years I lived there. That was a good time
Hmm.
in Tokyo, in the old Nippon.
Yeah,
It was really good. Yeah, I
you're
had
so cool.
no, I was so it was such a good time. It was such a crazy process on it because I feel like we were there together throughout that whole process of me getting that job as well. Like we
Yeah.
we started off, we submitted together, and I just obviously was like it was so far after we submitted that we just like it wasn't even something that was I was still considering or was thinking about, and then it just came out of nowhere. And yeah,
I was so happy when you got the contract because I knew how determined you were, like in your will. You were like, I'm like, you
I'm
just
going to
knew.
Japan.
And
I was
I
like, I'm
actually,
going
I
there.
knew too. I had this feeling like in my gut. I was like, Vinny's going to Tokyo. Like, I knew that you were going to go. And that's like the funny thing of our whole friendship, like how that began and everything. And like in the laundry room we were dancing in there for like until we had Circle K feet,
Oh my
It
gosh,
was like,
and our feet were like so gross from the floor because it was never cleaned,
yeah.
and it was Oh my, do
I
you
mean,
remember?
I
Because we
guess
did it
they can
did we
be.
not do it barefoot one time and our feet like were black underneath?
Yeah,
Oh my goodness, that is
so
crazy.
gross.
How did we not get ringworm from that? Or any for like any
Well,
type
actually,
of foot
like
disease?
I did. Like I got something. Did I tell you that? Wait, this
No,
maybe should I not? Should I disclose this? I mean, the broth is hot.
the broth is
Okay,
hot.
but
The broth
like,
is spicy. I need water before this too. I'm just gonna
does
take
it
off
like
the
gross you
label of
out?
the water
Does
so
it gross people out?
this is no
We're
product placement.
performers, like I'm a dancer. I'm wearing point shoes every day too, so my feet are just they're exposed to the elements all the
Your feet
time.
are janked.
I
Your
don't know.
feet are
I got
janky.
something. Yeah, they
That
actually really are. They're janky. I'm quite embarrassed. I put red toenail polish on and
I'd say
just
they're janky.
called it quit.
I've never examined your feet, but just like you saying that you've had
Really,
shoes on, I don't think I've ever stared at your feet long enough. I
because
don't
like
really do that to people.
I actually I examine people. I know this sounds weird, but on the subway, like I look at if they're wearing like flip flops because I don't know, I always wear sandals and stuff like during the summer, and it just annoys me when people have really disgusting feet or like how they're standing, or if they have really nice feet. I'm like, wow, you should have gone into ballet or you should have been a dancer. If they have like banana feet, I'm just like jealous. But
I
my
think
feet
that's
really are janky. We
no.
don't need to
I've never
talk
looked
about
at your
it.
feet long enough, but I remember you telling me all the time that your feet are janky from your point shoes and how
Yeah.
you've always been wearing point shoes. So I imagine if you caught something that you had some janky feet,
But I just, I always keep it a little janky, everything in my life, just a little bit.
just a little bit.
Um, Wait, okay, what did I want to talk about? Wait, introduce yourself more. Like, 'cause you're from, okay, because this is, I call you we call each other our green card lovers. Vinny is my
Yes,
green card lover.
my green card
And we
lover.
joke
We're gonna
about this
get
because
married for the green card.
we're gonna get married for the green card. But it's because, like, it's so hard as a performer to get jobs. And I think too for me, like I always wanted to live in the UK. And this is something like a commonality. Is that a word? I don't know. I'm just making this up. A commonality, is like for me, I always really wanted to live in the UK. Like I always wanted to go to ballet school. My detention center story.
Yes.
That's
Oh my
that's a
goodness.
heavy one.
The heavy one. Have you told the people on the podcast about the detention center?
That's Nah, this is
You're
about
gonna
you,
have to
Vinny.
yeah,
Okay.
you have to do a solo like podcast one time where you talk about that because that is a let me tell you, you just have the craziest stories, and that is always something that has drawn me to you as a person. That I'm just like, you will always be that friend to me where I'm just like, oh, if I have anything funny or crazy to tell, I will have to tell it to Vivian, my Vivi, because of how crazy your life is. I'm just like, I love it. It's so funny. You always have a story to tell, and I'm just like, you always warm my heart. But yeah,
That's
um,
you always warm my heart.
always
Oh,
warm
God,
my
I'm
heart
still
with
here.
you.
Oh no, I'm still here.
It's like you
Uh,
always warm my heart with your fun and your, yeah. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
that's so
It's
nice.
the
That's
pressure
so
of the
nice to
podcast where I'm
say.
trying to articulate my words properly, and I'm like, oh my goodness, the pressure of the podcast.
And you're not like bubbly fuck.
That is so funny. This is something I have to tell the podcast. Is when I met Kira, she would never swear. And I would do everything in my power to get her to curse. I would always try and bring it out of her, and then because she wouldn't, I would always be so different around her that I stopped cursing in front of her because I was just like it felt so out of place
Really?
that I couldn't. It was you and the twins. I could not curse in front of you because I was just like I was like, it feels so wrong. It feels like cursing in front of a grandparent. Like I can't do it. I was just was like, I can't. I was like, I feel so disrespectful. And my mom has always
Really?
kind of raised me like that. Like I didn't swear in front of my parents. I would never swear in front of my grandparents, aunties, uncles. Like I would not swear in the presence of an adult ever in my life. Like growing up, I was just like that.
Did
I
you
was like,
view me as like a parent?
no, it was just like I was
Like
always
an
just like it
adult?
feels so wrong. I was like I can't do that. I can't swear in front of an adult. And then when I was because you wouldn't curse, I was just like I can't do it in front of Kira now. I was like if I meet like other friends' parents, like I don't even now as an adult like I don't curse in front of other friends' parents, even if they're you
Yeah.
know swearing, they're effing, they're blinding, they're doing all this stuff, they're saying every curse word under the sun, I will be like, oh, shoot, oh my freaking goodness. Like, I can't do it.
Frickety
Like,
frack.
frickety frack, that was one. That was a top one for us.
Yeah,
So yeah, that
that
was
was
it.
that
It's
was
so
so
funny
cringy.
because now I'm just like, oh, we used to always laugh and go, oh, fuck, like that, and not say the actual swear
It
word
barely comes
because
out.
and that was just our little giggle. That was our own inside humor that we had. Um, I'm just trying to think of some things
Yeah.
about me. I'm
Well, you're in
British,
Australia, right? Like, how are you affiliated with Australia? Like, what brings you to Australia?
so
Because
my
you're
mum,
British. Like, that's,
yes,
green card lover.
green card lover. So my mum is an adventurous soul. She always has been. We come from quite a small town, a very small-minded family as well. Like, I love them, but they just like they love their fishbowl. They love their life in our very, very, very small town. Like, it's not just like a small town where it's a small town. Like, it's a small town. Like, we live on the coast.
Mm.
We have a little seaside. It's not very nice. It's very cold up there because it's from the north of England. And yeah, my mum has always kind of wanted to get out and live life. And so her and my dad decided that they wanted to move to either Canada or Australia, depending on which one they could find work in. And my dad was lucky he found work in Australia, so he brought us all over. So I moved to Australia when I was 15. It was kind of hard because the education system in the UK and Australia are very different. So when I was in the UK, I was about to finish year 11, which is kind of like the equivalent to the end of high school before I was going to move on to like my A levels and something. It was like a course that I wanted to do that I could move into. So I obviously chose to
Yeah.
do musical theatre eventually. And I went on to just do 2 years of musical theatre to prepare me to go to university. And that's how you kind of get your grades to get into a course in university in the UK is you finish your high school like in when you're 16 and then you do 2 extra years of education, whether that's like a work placement or internship, all of these things that kind of prepares you to go into the trajectory of your career, like whatever you're going to do as a career path. And so I was ready to finish school. I was in year 11. I was January. I was going to be finished in June. My school career was about to be finished. I was excited. And then I got moved to Australia and they put me into 10th grade, which in Australia, the system's kind of the
Um,
same as it is in the US where you finish in 12th grade. Do you finish in 12th grade? Like
yeah.
you finish, yeah. So you finish when you're 18, like your
High
senior
school
year.
and at 12.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so I went back into 10th grade, and the Australian school system's very different because their summer vacation is over Christmas because of the season changes and everything like that. So I'd obviously moved there
Which
in
is
January.
crazy. That's mind blowing to me.
Yes, so crazy. And I moved there in January thinking that I was entering the school year halfway through, and they were like, oh no, this is the start of the school year. So you'll be at the start of 10th grade.
Okay.
And so I was like, wait, so you're telling me I have 3 more years of high school? When I only had 4 or 5 months left in England. And they were just like, well, yeah, this school system's different here, so you'll probably have to stay in high school until um, December of 2019. And I was like,
That's crazy.
that means I was like, you're telling me I'm going to finish high school. Not only do I have 3 more years, I am going to finish 2 months before I turn 19. I was like,
That,
what?
yeah, that's really crazy.
And I know
I
that
didn't know
everybody's,
that actually.
yeah, it's very wild. Like I don't really understand what it's supposed to be because now talking about it a bit later on, I should have technically finished I should have technically finished,
Cause
been in
like,
the grade higher than me. I should have entered in 11th grade because I was in the age bracket of people that were in 11th grade. Like one of my best friends over here, her sister, there's only 2 months between the two of us, and she's in the year
mm,
above. And so I don't know what that whole situation was about, but yeah, I tried out school there for a little bit. It was very hard to fit in as a 15-year-old British kid with all of these Australians who had been in school together since they were 5 years old and they'd formed their friendships very deeply. It was very hard for me to break into that and very hard to find myself. And, I felt very excluded. We were in a kind of hard situation with my dad was the only one working because my mum, he brought us out. He got us sponsored to move out to Australia. And it was very hard for my mum to find a job as under the visa that we were under. And yes, my sisters were very young. We've got a big age difference between us. They're like 6 and 4. So at that time, not now, they're 12 and 14 now. They're well and grown. But at that time, they were 6 and 4, and so they were just naive to the whole fact of just like living in this brand new country. They were just like, "Oh, well, here I am,"
Yeah.
and it was very hard for me. So I decided after about 5 months of living there that I was gonna head back, and I headed back to the UK within 3 weeks of my supposed end date of school. So it was like I say five. Yeah, I moved out to Australia at the beginning of January, and then I left um the beginning of May, so around 5 months. And I was supposed to be finishing school, like my exams were starting mid-May, and I was supposed to be finished all my exams in the UK by the end of May, beginning of June. And so I moved back pretty quickly, slotted straight back into my old high school, and they were like, "Well, you've missed all this coursework off now, so you can only really be entered for the maths exams, the English exams." And I was just like, it was chaos, and I had so much
Yeah.
studying to catch up on, all in the matter of weeks. I had so many free periods because all of the other subjects that I was originally doing, I was no longer able to enter into the exams for those. And yeah, it was pretty crazy. This is my academic talk right now. This is me setting up to basically say that I'm unqualified to do everything because I only passed English and mathematics in my school. um, but yeah, I plan to just quickly finish that off and finish high school and potentially move back out to Australia with having had some sort of diploma in high school, being like, well, I'm kind of finished with my high school now, and it didn't really work like that. Like I said, we
Is
didn't
that
really
kind of
have
like, wait, what, like a GED? Is
kind
that
of.
what that is like?
Yeah,
Okay.
sort of. It's like sort of like the equivalent. It's a bit less than a GED because for your GED you have to have like a certain amount of subjects covered, I think. Whereas
Yeah.
this was just telling the world that I knew how to count without a calculator. I knew how to solve algorithms, and I knew how to decipher Shakespearean quotations. That's all that this was doing. Um,
Okay.
which I probably couldn't do now. But yeah, it was a weird kind of position I was in. I was 16 at that point. I'd like turned 16, and I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. I didn't know if I was going to head back to Australia, if I was going to go into a work placement. Like, I don't know if you ever knew this about me. I was going to aviation school to be a flight attendant, to be cabin
Really?
crew. Um,
Really?
and yeah, I was always a bit of a musical theatre kid. So that was the only music on my phone was musicals, and I would listen to them.
Hmm.
And something just clicked to me one day where I was like, oh, maybe I should try out for musical theatre. And so I went to the same college, like the same place that I was going to go to aviation school. Like, well, no, I don't think it was aviation school. It's flight attendant school, cabin crew school, and they had a
Yeah.
course in
Okay.
musical theatre. Um, and so I had my interviews for both of them and my like auditions per se, and I had to explain my whole situation of how I was only doing exams for these two subjects. So I wasn't going to have, because to get into these courses, you need to have, it's kind of the same as like actually going into university. You have to have so many points and like grades in so many subjects. So I had to have at least
Yeah.
4 grades that were higher than a C level, an A, B, or C. I had to have in those two, in 4 subjects to get into that grade level, into level 3 of flight attendant school and um, musical theatre. So I did my interviews. They both were just like, well, yeah, because you only have 2 grades, you're going to have to be re-entered into level 2, which means you'll have to do an extra year of this, which means I was going to have to do 3 years, which was going to set me even further back than it would have to do high school in Australia. So it was just like this huge dilemma for me.
Mhm.
And they were like, and that is permitting that you pass English and maths to begin with, because if you don't pass those, then you're going to have to go to level 1, which means you have to do 4 years. And that was just kind of stupid. I would never have done the 4 years because once you turn 18, you're no longer legally required to stay into school, but to have that certificate, which means that I would have technically completed school education. I would have had to stay for 4 years, and I was just like, this was crazy. So I did my audition for musical theatre, and I'd had my interview portion, and they kind of turned around and they said to me, we don't think, given your circumstances, that you should actually be in level 2. We think that you should be in level 3. We think that you're at the right level of someone who would have finished school. And given the circumstances, we're going to try and figure a way out to get you into the level 3 course, permitting that you pass English and
Oh,
maths. And so that was just
oh, that's
completely
good.
a huge shift for me. I was just like, well, I never considered doing musical theatre because my family, as much as they were always supportive of it, they were just like, you won't find a career in that. And I was like, okay.
Mm.
And so, yeah, I decided that that was what I was going to do had I passed English and maths. And luckily, I passed maths by flying colors. I was very, very lucky in that because I was really awful at math. So I don't know how I managed to pass it so easily. But then English, I passed by 1 mark. I got a C in English and I got it by 1 mark. And had I not got that mark, I would have failed English and I would have had to do level 2 musical theatre. But luckily, because I passed both, I got to do level 3 musical theatre, 2 years of it. I My school wasn't heavily funded, so it wasn't the top training. Like it wasn't national state level. It was very much just, very standard.
Where's your school?
So it's in my town in the north of England. Wasn't in a very big city.
Okay.
It's just like our small town. Um,
Mhm.
I had a There's so many stories that come from that. It was a very good 2 years of my life. I loved it being a
Yeah.
full-time theatre
I
kid. It's
feel
where
like
I really found my passion for musicals and my passion for performing really came from that.
yeah, because musical theater, I always this is the thing because in the ballet world it's so different, right? Like, and when I came into the more, I don't know, I guess like having friends like you who are involved in musical theater and everything, and like I have a friend who's on Broadway, and she just like all of the stories, like, and you see these it's about, I don't know, putting on the show like entertainment, which is so different from ballet because yes, of course, like we're on stage and we're putting together a show, but it's like the Broadway musical theater world is so exciting to me because these people, like, I don't know, like there's the passion for it that's unlike any, like the drama. I just live for that. Like I love the amount of entertainment. Like it's not like
It's not just like they're
in
performing on
ballet, there's
stage, you're
critics.
performing in real life as well. Like the amount of things that go on, it's just
Yeah.
a huge, there's entertainment everywhere. It's on stage, backstage, wherever you look when you go
Yeah,
into
yeah,
like the
yeah,
musical life.
exactly. I mean, what's something that did you feel like that? Because like at least working, coming to Paris, and like getting involved with that was so different for me. So, I mean, what was your shift? How did you get to where you are now? What was your mindset?
So it was very weird because I had always thought that I would go to drama school and try and make it on like the West End, which obviously is like the UK's version of Broadway. And
Mm.
that was kind of my mindset. I was a full-time theatre geek at this point. Oh, I don't know it. My little thumb. um that
Did
was
you do
my
that?
No, I don't know how that happened. Well, I tried it. Oh, it happened again. Um,
Oh,
I'm thinking thumbs up. That's my true brain thought right now is thumbs up to musical theatre. Um, yeah, I was very passionate about it, but I just didn't know whether or not I wanted to commit to another 3 years of school, and I didn't know whether or not I was ready to commit to living in England. I never really felt like how you say that you were always drawn to England. I was always drawn to America. Like I always grew up on American
yeah.
sitcoms, and I grew up watching American TV, and there was always something so big about the we've talked about this so many times about like the American dream and what it meant to, and we've had conversations about what that meant to me and growing up and how I've always held on to this idea about the American dream. And that's why we formed this little alliance of the green card lovers, was because I was like, I'll go live in
Exactly.
America and you can go live in the UK. I was like, so it's perfect. I was like, we'll do a little exchange program. um
Exchange program. I love that. A little frame.
The little exchange marriage.
And then we can get
It's
a
like wife
T-shirt
swap, but instead of
that say
swapping
like
wives,
I was the green card.
I was the green card with the
That will be our
UK
ceremony.
flag, and I was the green card with the American flag. What the heck? Where are all of
Oh
these?
my gosh, Vinny,
I'm
what
just
are
like
you
all of
doing
these
over there?
emojis are coming.
So much love for the green card lovers.
This should be our the green card lovers. Mm.
I love it. That's so cute. That will be like the, what is that called? The thumbnail. Vinny,
And
I'm trying to be like really technological with this stuff. I feel like I'm doing okay.
I'm loving
Who
it.
knows? Like
I
all of my 6 followers who are gonna watch this.
No, I love this. This is such a. I've always wanted to podcast. And this is the thing about you is you're such a go-getter that this is when you told me that you were doing a podcast, I was just like, yeah, of course she is. I was like, this is Vivian we're talking about right now. Um,
I just love talking. I like hearing
th-
people's, dreams and goals and passions.
but do you know what is so funny about this that you're doing this now? Is I'm pretty sure that we had a conversation when because we always used to walk home together from the twins, and we used to do that long little walk
Yeah.
back to our apartment building. Oh, even when I moved, we walked. We just would do the walk around, like around the whole of Val d'Europe where we lived, and
The circle.
around Ceres, around Chessie. We would just do that big walk around the field and around the lake, and
Yeah.
we always said to each other, well, not always, but I swear that we said to each other at some point about a podcast because we were just like, we always would say to each other that we loved our walk homes because we would have so much to say and so many viewpoints on different aspects of life, so many stories that we had to share about our upbringings and obviously that's how I know about your detention center story is like, that was the moment that we would connect. I don't think we ever sat in a room and had a conversation. I think we were always just walking and talking because we used to call them our walk-in
It was the
talks.
walk and the talk.
The walk-in talk.
That's where it began.
And that's
The
where
walk
that's
and the
where the
talk.
names came from because we used to talk in different accents when we would walk, even though we were talking about this vast
Exactly.
variety of things, life experiences, life stories, personal opinions on the world, personal opinions on relationships and dynamics. We would talk about all these things, but we would talk in different accents. And the New York accent came out,
Yeah, that's
and
the
you were teaching
thing.
me how to talk in a New York accent, and you were just like, you have to be like, yo, Vinny, yo, Tony, yo, Vivi. And
You
they
have
were
to take it to the street.
you have to take it to the streets. You're gonna go to the store and the dollar store and you're gonna buy yourself something nice to wear. And we used to do this all the time. And that's where
I love it.
the names Tony and Vinny came from. You were Tony, I was Vinny. And then we kind of, after a while, were just like, Tony doesn't fit. Like, Tony kind of feels like an uncle. Like, in our life story that we've created, in these personas that we've created, Tony kind of feels like the uncle. And we were just like, we need a new name. And I was just like, well, I was like, if I'm Vinny, then you should be Vivi. And then we're like Vivian.
Vivi.
Like Vivian Vinny.
Vivian and Vinny. It just rolls off the tongue.
And
And that's the thing. It's like we always would create these personas. I was like, does anyone else do this? Like, is this normal or is this just what we do?
and we had all of our characters from our different stories, and we were like calling these people, and we were just like, okay, no, I don't know if I'm gonna say those
So
names,
hilarious.
but we were so we
We,
had we had little code names.
oh, we had names for people. Come on, everyone does it. Like you gotta take them off the pedestal by giving them a name, like Big Shoes or something.
Yeah,
Or like,
and that's
there was like some. It's okay to do. Everyone does it. And there were some names for some other people. Like I always give people that I cherish like a little nickname.
yeah. And so
It's just more.
it
It's
develops
cute.
the relationship in a different way. It takes it to that different level where
I'm
you
not
kind
gonna
of
call
create
you
this.
Dylan. Like, did I even mention your name in this
I don't think. Yeah, hi, I'm Dylan.
interview once?
I'm Dylan,
No,
everybody.
this is actually Dylan.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, this is Dylan Jarvis.
it's so funny because I call you
Vivian
Kira over text,
and Vivian.
but then when I voice note you, I go Vivienne, and I do it in the same tone. That's like my calling to you. Is I
Okay.
go Vivienne. Let me tell you something, and that's how I will start every voice
It's
note
that
to
end
you.
note. It's like you're singing. You have to Vinny.
Vinny,
It goes
Vivienne. Are you kidding right now?
exactly.
So, there
I
you go.
love that. I love the fake chewing gum in the mouth
Yes,
too.
and the
That's how
nail
you get the
clicking.
accent.
My mom. Whenever we would
My
talk, we
mom.
would always go,
My
oh, my
mom.
mom, with the nail clicking. And I never had nails, so I would always
Do
just
you
pretend that
remember
I
at
was doing
Haley
it.
and Taylor's? Because we were always like hanging out. For some reason, Vinny and I were just always at Haley and Taylor's because they had like the nicest connotation.
We lived in the
So we
box.
were
We
just
lived in
like
the
the
shoe box.
janky people who'd like walk in like, my mom.
My mom. And they were like, they had
They'd like cook for us.
their big crochet basket, their nice cushions, their
Yeah.
placemats that they'd made themselves, all of this like beautiful like homeware. They would cook this like really nice hearty meal, and we'd be like, had our blue wig on and the blonde wig, and we'd be like, my mom. let me tell you something about my mom.
We just waltzed into their apartment every evening, like, what's on the menu?
What's
Let's
cooking
cook.
in the
Let's
kitchen?
eat.
What's cooking good looking?
What's cooking in the kitchen?
I'm just like,
They probably
and even though me and you
they
always had
probably
our
thought we were
secret,
crazy. I
oh,
don't know.
they knew. They didn't think it. They knew it to the ends of their being.
I should
Like,
have them on the podcast.
I would be
They're
surprised if
so
you didn't.
cute.
But how you can't get them together because they're now separated.
I know. I love Haley and Taylor's relationship. I want a twin. I need to. That's why I'm gonna have like 3 boxes because Haley's gonna be in one place and Taylor's in the other.
Yes, you need to
That's
figure
gonna be
out how to do like
crazy.
a three-way podcast. But isn't that so
A
funny that you
three-way
say
call.
that you always wanted a twin? Because I'm just like, we were twins last summer, if you remember this. So I lived in Japan for 2 years, but in between my contracts, I came back to Paris for a little visit as like a homestay, like a home leave. And I came over to Paris and I so happened to land the day before Vivian here was about to head off on a contract. And so we had one day to spend together. And we met in the middle of Paris. We just kind of ran up to each other like a movie moment and then we stopped. And Vivian had dyed her hair black. And I was like, wait. And she looked at me and she was like, you dyed your hair black. And I was like, mine's not supposed to be black. But for some reason, right now, we're twinning and we were just kind of like these. And obviously, my hair
Accidentally.
accidentally twinning. My hair is naturally blonde, but I went through a phase whilst living in Tokyo where I wanted to be a brunette. And so I dyed my hair brown and with my hair being so naturally blonde, the roots were rooting. They were coming out. They were like, you
Yeah.
will not squash this hair down. We will be blonde and we will always be blonde. And just before I moved to
I know
Paris,
it's so hard keeping up with it when you have as light as hair as you do. It's
yes,
like you have to constantly be dyeing it. Because even my hair, because my hair's still dark, right? You know,
yeah,
it's like more of a gingery, honey color. It's not like blonde.
yeah.
But I was born like bleach blonde like you. And then for some reason it just turned into this, I don't even know what color it is. It's the color of hay.
Like,
It looks like hay. And so I'm like, so when I look like, do I look like, I don't know. I feel like I look like, right now with my hair parted in the middle. I don't know. Do I look weird? It looks like a
no, you
wig.
look so cute. I am. Oh, I can see you more
Um,
now. Oh my gosh, no, you look so cute.
I look like
You
the
got when
Virgin
if
Mary.
you pull it down, you look like Morticia
Uh,
Adams. Like if you pull it down, it's giving like Adam's family.
and that's the thing. That's why I would dye it because I want, we went into this phase. We had just gone through some crazy crap.
Yes, some
Uh,
crazy crap with
I'll leave it at that. Crazy crap.
yeah.
That's the title. The crazy crap era. I went on tour and then I came back to France with black hair and black cat.
Yes, with
So,
little Presley. And
yeah,
I
he's from Portugal.
had
And
times
so are my mistakes.
I didn't know that Presley was from Portugal.
Yeah, he is. He's from
So
Portugal.
you're telling
And
me
some
that
other people are too.
I was trying to speak French to Presley and he's Portuguese?
Yes.
I never knew that. I don't.
That's okay. He's multilingual.
Yes, I can imagine. He talks the talk in many different languages.
He talks the talk and he walks the walk.
Oh, he walks the walk.
You know,
He,
they
he,
say that cats learn their personalities from their humans, and oh, he does.
he-
I'm like, you are so annoying. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, is this a reflection? Like, is this how I am? Then I realized, I'm like, oh,
it's like me
okay.
being.
He's learned from the best.
It was me sitting in your apartment, and then all I hear is this beeping, and you're just like, oh, Presley, turn on the stove top again. He's gonna burn this place down. Right. I have to tell you that I'm no longer to snap my.
Oh, it has to end.
But what I'm thinking is that we do a part two, that you can continue it on.
I think we should, Vinny. This is so fun. I just like talking to
If you
you.
hear that whining,
Okay,
it's
I'm
my
gonna leave
dog. It's
on
my
this
dog because
note.
the car is pulling into the garage right now. But let's do a part two
Okay.
where we can carry on talking because there's so many things to be covered. Where I have more of a extent of time
Yeah.
and we'll talk more. So,
Yeah, of course,
oh
Vinny.
my
Thank
gosh.
you so much for joining.
Sorry.
I love you so much. All the
Big
love,
love.
and
I will speak to you soon.
I wish you the best in
Yes.
your future endeavors.
Yes. I will speak to you soon. We will
See you for
organize.
part two.
See you for part two.
Ciao,
Ciao,
ciao.
ciao.